This is Milwaukee's 10-piece 18-volt combo kit. We're going to have a look into this combo kit. We'll have a look at what tools we get in the combo kit and have a small review on the look and feel of all of these tools here. I've also put these tools head to head with some of the biggest brands in Australia, so I'll share with you how they perform and which tools in this combo kit are good and which tools aren't that good. Now, in my opinion, this combo kit here is one of the worst combo kits out of the tools you actually get from the combo kit. Typically, all tool brands would do a 6-piece combo kit, which will give you your drill, your driver, grinder, recip, and saw. These 6 tools here. And then when tools go to the 10-piece combo kit like we got here, they normally differ from one another. A lot of brands give you more useful tools, and in Milwaukee's case, I feel like you don't get much more for spending that bit extra. So one great tool it does come with is this multi-tool at the front here. But apart from that, the only things we're really picking up is a torch. We've got ourselves a blower, a radio, and a wet and dry vac. And I'm not here saying that these tools are useless. Obviously, it's great having a radio, a vacuum, your torch, and your blower. But compared to some other brands that offer the 10-piece combo kit, that offer impact wrenches or hammer drills, I would always rather have those tools in here rather than a vacuum or a radio and a few tools that you may not need as much. With that being said though, let's jump into these tools and start having a look at them. So first up, we do have the multi-tool. It does have the start lock system, and to change the blades in this multi-tool, we've got this tab at the back that we pull up, open it up, and then we can twist the front off. We can twist this all the way, and you can see the screw that pulls out, allowing us to sit a new multi-tool blade on and then put this back in. It's easy enough to do, it takes a few seconds. I've said this with a few other brands though, and I hate multi-tools where you actually have a screw, a bit that actually comes out loose from the tool. Obviously, that's a very similar approach to changing a grinder blade or a circular saw blade, and since you may constantly be changing between cutting blades or sanding pads, there's a chance throughout the day that you can take that off, potentially drop it and lose it. I've seen other multi-tools, for instance Dewalt and Bosch multi-tools, have an attachment at the end where you actually don't need to take a screw out. You've just got a little lever you can pull down and replace the blades, and I think they're the most dominant multi-tools. In terms of the actual design and the hold of this multi-tool, I don't really love the handle of it. It's kind of got the one size of the body coming the entire way down, meaning that you don't have a nice handle. It's just the one same hold the entire way through. Jumping back one, we've got the mini Sawzall. The 10-piece combo kit doesn't offer a full-size recip, which is quite annoying. If you're using a recip, you really want to use one of the full-size ones. I personally haven't had a massive use out of the Sawzall. I've done a few tests with it cutting through timber. Obviously, it is a lot slower than the big full-size recips, but that being said, it's actually a really good balance hold, and it's easy to move around as well, especially if you're doing renovation work and you're crawling through tight spaces and you need to take a recip with you. I could see this one becoming very handy. The one thing I would love for it to have, which it doesn't though, is a belt hook or a rafter hook. Most of your big full-size recips these days have a rafter hook to hook on, and I feel like with the smaller saws or the smaller recip, you're more than likely going to be using this one on a ladder, taking it up into the roof with you, so it's a bit disappointing to not see a rafter or a belt hook on this tool. Jumping back here, we've got the blower. Nothing special about the blower, but it's got everything you want in a blower. Firstly, we've got the trigger and a switch we can pull down, which will leave the blower constantly blowing. A few brands don't do this, which is quite frustrating, so I'm glad that it does have it. And not that it means anything, but it actually feels like a nice quality blower. A lot of brands make their blowers and it feels like cheap plastic. The handle doesn't feel nice. This blower is quite nice to hold, and it feels like it's a decent tool. Now we'll jump across to the circular saw. If you've watched any of my videos where we've used Milwaukee tools, you will know I've got a lot to say about this saw. The first thing we're going to start with is that this is my least favorite saw on the market. Now, the first thing is it is quite an awkward, uncomfortable weight to be moving around. Once you try to use it, the one thing that does my head in is we've got the safety trigger up here that I use my thumb, and it's out of the way. Most other brands would have the safety trigger almost where my thumb is now, where you would just grab the saw so you don't have to move your thumb out of the way to turn it on. I feel like every time I've used this saw, it's a bit of a stretch to get my thumb up there, and it's just awkward. It doesn't feel comfortable and natural. Some brands, you use this saw and you'll forget they've got the safety trigger on the handle. This is a 165mm saw, and these days I think every other brand that offers a 165mm saw has really compacted the size of the body. So those saws are now really easy to carry around with you, move around, and easily hold in awkward directions if you're going to do an awkward cut. Milwaukee's been left behind there. For an 18-volt 165mm saw, this thing is way too big, heavy, and clunky for my liking. On that note, I want to jump all the way across to the drill, and we'll get into the driver as well. I hate the saw, but the drill and driver are up there with potentially the best drill and driver on the market. From all the tests I've run with the 18-volt tools, it seems like Milwaukee and AEG are always up there when it comes to the drill and the driver. Now the first thing is this drill is quite well balanced. It does sit really nice in your hand. I like the grip when you hold it as well. Changing it from forward to reverse is very easy. You can easily get your thumb up there and flick that back and forth. So it's a well-built drill, but the best thing about this is its power. I'm going to talk about the drill and driver at the same time because they're both exactly the same and being some of the most powerful tools out there. Same as the drill, the impact driver is built really well. It's got a nice grip. It's really nice to hold. And this is where I normally recommend Milwaukee to roof plumbers or plasterers or trades that aren't heavily using the circular saw, but are going to be using the drill and driver a lot. On top of that, I know we're only having a look at the 10-piece combo kit today, but if you're familiar with Milwaukee's range, they've got so many different tools, and once you have the batteries, it's so easy to buy the skins for all these other tools and expand your collection. So the drill and driver are awesome. Circular saw, I hate it, it's not good. As a carpenter, this is actually the first saw I used, and I hated it, and it's not just me saying that. I've had a few people I've worked with who were die-hard Milwaukee fanboys, the typical guys you know, and they've loved all the tools, and even some of them fought against me saying the saws are good, but most of the time they ended up having problems with the saws anyway. I had a co-worker that had the miter saw from Milwaukee, it was the same issue. They just don't know how to build a great saw. Jumping from the drills and the saws, we'll have a look at the grinder. This is a nice grinder. So it's got the paddle safety switch at the front, which I love. For a grinder being such a dangerous tool, I love the safety feature that once you release, the grinder's going to turn off, opposed to some of the grinders that have that little tab that you push forward and it just stays on once you push it to that location. Obviously it's a two-hand hold, which I really like. This handle down here is really nice as well if you were to use it with one hand. I do not recommend that. Definitely with the grinder, use two hands, but I do know a lot of people that will be doing some jobs and they might try to stretch out and use it with one hand. In terms of using it with one hand and two hands, I've heard Milwaukee's come out with a new grinder. I had a co-worker tell me about this. He tried it out himself. I haven't even seen this grinder yet, but apparently that grinder has the same safety switch on the body of the tool, but it's got a second one on the second handhold, meaning that you cannot use a grinder unless you've actually got both hands on it. I think that's a great idea. As I said, people do tend to use it with one hand, and I've heard that many stories of people using grinders and then flicking back and hitting them in the face. These are dangerous tools, so I do always recommend using the two hands. I love that Milwaukee did that, but I'm actually quite surprised that they would do it. Even though that's a really good safety mechanism by Milwaukee, I don't understand why they did it though, because I can't see people wanting to buy that grinder where it's going to limit them doing a one-handed job if they wanted to. If every brand started making grinders that way and there's no way to get around it, that would be great. But for now, it's good by Milwaukee, but I don't know how that's going to work out. Last little tool we've got at the front here is just a torch by Milwaukee. I've completely drained all the batteries while I was testing these tools out, so it is dead now. But I've got no special comments to make about the torch. It is a nice handheld torch. It's easy to hold. So at the back here, we do have Milwaukee's radio. This is a bit of a newer version of a similar radio I used to have. Underneath this radio though, we do have the wet and dry vacuum, which honestly a wet and dry vacuum is going to be quite handy to have. But if I was buying this as an apprentice, I would definitely rather a hammer drill or another useful tool over this vac. Now I've got a bag behind me. We've got heaps of accessories, another nozzle for the blower so it actually extends, which is really useful. We've got a few nozzles for the wet and dry vac here as well. And for the radio, it also does come with a wall plug, which is massive because with this 10-piece kit, you've got 3 batteries. Let's say you're working, you've got 1 battery on charge, 1 in the drill, and then 1 in the saw. You're not going to be able to put another battery in the radio. Most times you're going to be using 3 batteries at the same time. So it's really good that you can have the option to plug that into a wall plug and you don't have to use a battery in the radio. We've also got the Milwaukee bag at the back here, and this bag is perfect to hold all the tools except the radio and the wet and dry vac. But in this 10-piece combo kit, we actually get 2 of these bags. I've left one of them in my car. I forgot both of them came with this kit until I started talking about the tools. And over this other side of the table as well, this is a charger we have for the batteries. It's just a single charger, just your typical Milwaukee rapid charge. So there's a look at Milwaukee's 10-piece combo kit. Overall, they do make great tools, apart from the saws.